Hey, and welcome to my 15 minutes live and a bit of a change of setting. So I moved offices. I'm still in the same environment. I just moved my office to this side of the building because I have this natural light coming in. I've got more natural light from this side, and while I'm working here, I've got this view outside which is very relaxing, very refreshing. So yeah, I just moved, and this move has basically opened up my mind. Although there can be a number of distractions out the window, uh, but luckily during office hours there's not much happening, so it's very quiet, and I don't get distracted that much. But this is a very, very nice setting. So it's a Sunday afternoon, and it's autumn, and it's getting a bit chilly. And we get our rain during summertime, and the rain dies down in autumn and winter. But it's raining. It's raining today, and I had to rush in here, so you can actually see it from my t-shirt. I've got a bit of raindrops on me, still a bit wet from rushing in here. But yeah, it's a Sunday afternoon, and very quiet, very relaxing. And we have a visitor, and we just had lunch, so I'm really filled. Had a lovely lunch. And there's one thing I can say, and this is advice to you guys. The best way to enjoy your money is to put it in your mouth and eat it. Chew it, taste it, and swallow it. There's no way of spending your money better than to put it in your mouth and eat it. Plain and simple. I can't explain it better than that. The best way to spend your money is to eat it, to taste it, and to swallow it. But it hasn't been a good week. It's been a hectic week. I didn't get much done in terms of my work because the internet is down. And because I work from home, my office and the house share the same internet connection. And I think it was Tuesday night. We were watching television. We were streaming. We were watching a documentary, and we were streaming the documentary. And probably 3/4 into the documentary, it just started buffering. And okay, we gave it a minute to say, okay, what's happening? Is there a glitch somewhere? And then, the kids from the room were shouting, "Daddy, what's wrong with the Wi-Fi? Is the Wi-Fi down? What's happening?" So after a minute of buffering, I realized, okay, the internet is down. So I shouted to my son. I said, "Lino, just go check if the telephone line, do you have a dial tone on the telephone line?" And he went in the living area or the lounge, and then when he picked up the telephone, there was no dial tone on the telephone. And he shouted, "No, Daddy, there's no dial tone. The telephone is dead." And immediately I knew that the lines have been cut. And normally when that happens, when the lines are being cut, then they probably stealing cables. They're stealing the telephone cables. So I said to my wife, "Oh goodness, they're stealing telephone cables." So I said, come guys, let's get in the car, let's take a drive, because I know and I understand how the fixed line infrastructure works, where where they have patch panels and distributing points, and where's the cabinets and stuff. So I said, let's get in the car, let's take a drive. So my son said, no, I'm not going. And me and my wife, we jumped in the car in pajamas. I had my gown on and we jumped in. And I just thought, like, maybe I can prevent, because I was quite certain it's a cable theft. And then we took a drive, and the first distribution box from where I live is possibly let's say 300 meters from my house. So I went around the block and I went to the first distribution point, and I didn't think it would be there, because I thought I'll just pass and just have a look and see whether the distribution point is still fine, whether the box is still covered. And as I pulled up, the box was open. So it has a back door and it has a front door, and both doors were like open. And I was quite shocked, because I didn't expect that, it would happen here. And it was dark. It was probably like 10 o'clock at night. And then I reversed my car and I turned, and I wanted to shine the lights onto this box. And as I reversed and I turned and I shined my bright lights onto the box, and then I saw someone jump up from behind the box with a gray, almost gray, like maybe a bit lighter gray than my shirt. So someone jumped up, and then they flee. Oh, I don't know. They flew, or they ran into the bushes. And I realized, oh my goodness, I got onto the scene when they were actually busy stealing cables. And a quick investigation, and I saw, oh shucks, the box is really damaged. It's vandalized, it's damaged. And in that short space of time, so probably from the time my line went dead or my internet went down, probably 6 minutes I was on the scene. And this guy jumped up from the back and he ran. And there's a bit of a field, there's a field behind, and I thought this guy's gonna cross the field, so let me drive around and get him from the other side. He must exit the field on the other side. So I took a drive, and it took me maybe 3 minutes to get to the other side of the field. And I paused for a bit, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and couldn't see anything. And I pulled and I shined my lights into the field. Couldn't see anything, couldn't see any movement. And while my wife is on the phone, she was texting the community watch, and she was sending voice messages asking for assistance, for any patrollers to come out, or any assistance from the community, messages on the community chat. And I drove back, and I thought, okay, let me come back this way around. And as I came back on one of the main roads, just by the railway station, so we found these two guys walking, and the one with a gray jacket. And I pulled up next to them, and I opened my window and I asked them, where you're coming from? And they're grown men. They probably in their 30s, or the one that I spoke to was probably 40 years old. And I stopped and I asked, where you're coming from? And they said, no, we're coming from one of the extensions, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, man, you were the guy that was busy with that landline distribution box, and I saw you with your gray jacket, and I saw you run through the bushes. No, it's not me, and blah, 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 blah. And I took my phone and I put the torch, or the flashlight on my phone, and I shined it on his jacket. And I said, let me look at your hands. And I said, look at your jacket. Your jacket is full of blackjacks. Now, blackjacks is like it's like a seed. So when you run through the bush, the blackjacks would sit on your jacket. They stick on. It's like a seed, but it's got like pointy ends which sticks on your jacket. And I say, see how full your jacket is full of blackjacks. And I said, it was you that was stealing the cable that vandalized the box there. And he was like, no, it's not me. And I wanted to talk to him, and I wanted to say to him, like, I wanted to ask him, what are you taking there? Are you stealing the copper cable? What are you doing with the copper cable? How much money are you getting for this copper cable? I wanted to educate the person. educate. So there were two. The one was next door, and I was talking to the one with the gray jacket. I didn't see the second person. I just saw the one with the gray jacket. And I wanted to say to him, you know, if you cut the cable, if you steal the cable, you cut off communication for a whole community, 2,000 houses. If you cut that cable, you steal that cable, if you vandalize this box, you are cutting 2,000 houses off from telephones, from the internet. And I wanted to educate, and I was even prepared, to be honest with you, I was prepared to say to this guy, I will pay you monthly. I will give you a monthly stipend to protect these boxes, right? How much are you getting for the cable that you steal from here? How much are you getting for the little copper that you get? Are you getting 200-300 rand for this little copper? You know, I was at that point to say, like, I'll even pay you. I'll give you 300 rand every month if you can, on a daily basis, visit every single distribution point. And if you look after this cable and there's no incident, and you make sure that this infrastructure is protected, I'll give you 300 rand. I was at that point. But anyway, as I was shining my torch, and as I was talking to the guy, he possibly realized that maybe this guy is filming me, or I'm recording from my phone. But I just had the torch on because I was looking at his hands and I was looking at the blackjacks. And I signed, and he started blocking his face. He kind of did that, and he started blocking his face, and he was moving away from my, and as I reversed and turned the car, they started running, and they ran across the railway line. Now, just across the railway line, we have new informal settlements coming up, squatter camps. Squatter camps. So it's I don't know if you know what the Brazilian favelas look like. Well, this is 10 times worse than that, because the Brazilian favelas, it's at least built, those favelas are built out of brick and mortar, and they build on top of each other. But squatters in South Africa are like a very small, they build a structure out of timber. They don't put any concrete on the floor, it's just raw sand on the floor. So they put a structure up with timber, just a bare bone structure, and then they use galvanized zinc, or what do you call it, these zinc sheets, just to cover. So it's a very informal, no toilet, no nothing. So they're putting up these formal. Now I can understand that these people don't have a place to stay. There's a whole lot of things going on with squatters at the moment. Some people say that these people put up these squatters so that they can get a RDP house. RDP is a reconstruction and development project where government is trying to build houses for people that live in squatters. So there's no toilet, there's no electricity, there's no plumbing. They find an open land, and when one person puts up a squatter or a shack, put up a shack in an area, you can be guaranteed that in a month or 2 months time you will have 5,000 of these shacks covering that in area. So it's happening in the country that I love. It's happening very frequently. I mean, squatters has always been there, but in the last 2 years it has really spread like wildfire. If I say wildfire, just the area that I live in, this area is surrounded by 1, 2, 3, 4. It's surrounded by 4 squatter areas. And I can say in the past 2 years probably, we're looking at possibly, and this is just a stamsak, possibly in the past 2 years, we're looking at possibly 15,000 of these shacks and squatters coming up. And that's the problem we're sitting at the moment. And with squatters coming up, it's crime. It's just crime, and the area is deteriorating. It is, you can just imagine the waste, because these people don't have toilets. Where do they don't have ablution facilities. So you can just imagine it's waste. And they come into the community. When we take our dustbins out to be emptied, you know, they push everything out of the dustbin, and they're looking for valuables in the dustbin, and it's just a whole mess. So yes, we are sitting without electricity, without telephones. We are currently sitting without internet. I don't know when this video will be uploaded, and maybe in the next video I'll talk about, so the telephone company has already responded, and there's issues with them, which I'm also not happy with. So all I can say, in the past 25 years, the infrastructure and everything that surrounds making this country, making things happen in this country, everything has just been deteriorating in the past 25 years. Thank you, people. That's my 15 minutes live, and goodbye.